Yo, what is up, guys? Warcrux here, bringing you my new meta Magicka DK build for the Greymoor patch. If I hear the word elfbane one more fucking time, I'm probably gonna punch a baby in the trachea. It's probably one of the most overrated sets in the game. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad set, but for what it does, it's just simply not worth running, in my opinion. There's plenty of other options. It's really cool having a permanent Grothgar up, because Elfbane extends the duration of your fire effects by 5 seconds, but let's be honest, fellas. Other than that, what's it do? You don't kill people by extending your dots on people. You that's not how DK plays. And today I'm going to show you that you don't have to be a meta slave and run what people think are canon or whatever. It's just not optimal. I don't like the DK playstyle right now. It's probably why it's pretty underwhelming for a lot of people, that you have to sit and marinate people and play so slow. And DK, when you play slow on DK, you just kind of get eaten alive, so to speak. So you can either play super tanky with super low damage, or you can play moderately tanky with super high damage. And I definitely opt for the super high damage. And this build definitely brings that. Called it Cataclysm, and it is fucking the end of times with this build. It's got probably the highest burst in the game that you can set up, and it requires no skill to set it up. It takes like 3 seconds to have your full burst. You can have it on command. You don't have to wait for anything to proc. It's just an amazing, amazing build. I have so much fun playing it, especially in BGs. So, let's hop right into it. Character sheet, everything as is. Recovery's low, as you know, on Magicka. You don't need high recovery. Running Glitch, this goes up to 2600 recovery, so that's taken care of. Spell crit, we're in a light armor, not to be confused with heavy armor. Heavy armor, just quite frankly, you're missing out on 10% crit. You're missing out on 5k spell penetration. That's 10% of your overall damage. That's a lot. So when people try to show you these heavy armor tooltips, those tooltips are hitting for a lot less than they actually show on the tooltips. Light armor, however, are actually hitting more than what the tooltips say. So here's this. Back bar, kind of buffed up. Here's your resistances. Not too terribly high, but we do have insanely high crit resist and insanely high healing. We mostly survive just through the amount of healing that we can put out on this build. You don't have to have a lot of shit going. So instead of having high resistances for our tankiness and survivability, we have really good heals. So that's another way to compensate for it. Everything fully buffed, however, when it comes to your spell damage. So we're looking at 4,300 spell damage with the 45k max. Okay, what does that equate to? Like, what does that even mean? So I'm gonna show you guys real fast. You saw on the thumbnail the 22k tooltip a whip. So here you go. Oh, if I can do this quick enough, shit. Of course my stacks fall off. So we're gonna try this one more time, and hopefully we're not gonna fuck it up. 1, 2, light attack. Okay. So we fucked up again. This sucks. I may edit this out, I may not. I think it's kind of funny, to be honest. It shouldn't be this hard. There we go. So there's our 22.5k tooltip. Not hard to set up. I'm just a fucking idiot and don't know how to hit RB correctly. So, alright. Running the Mage Mundus. This is a Max Mage build. Running Foods, be it Sugar Souls. Probably the best food in the game, to be honest. Especially for a DK. Dark Elf, reason we're Dark Elf, he gives us extra stamina, magic, it pretty much gives everything the High Elf does, minus the little bit of if the sustain aspect of it. You don't need any sustain on it. Plus, as a High Elf, you do have access to one of the most underrated passes, which is my favorite, Resist Flame. You're immune to the burning stats effect, so when you run into another DK running some cheese charge build that relies 100% on keeping the burning effect up on you, well, they're going to get dicked on because you can't be burned as a dark elf. Alright, so what sets are we running? Hear me out on this, fellas. You're probably going to shit yourself when you see this. I haven't seen anyone else run this, but the changes to the master weapons has really brought a lot of builds to life. So the first one we're running is the Master's Perfected Inferno, running a Shock Enchant. It can be Nirnhone or sharpened or even charged. Um, I have it as Nirnhone because I use this on several of my champions or tunes or heroes, whatever. And Nirnhone is just the most consistent. Charge is kind of only a 4 DK. I may farm another one and have it charge straight on it, but as of right now I have Nirnhone. Charge works just as well. Be the other alternative. Next up we're running is Lich. This is only going to be on our back bar. This is where our Berserker enchant comes in play. When you go in for your burst, just light attack on your back bar. There you go. Next up we're running is Grothgar. You can toss on whatever two-piece monster set you want. You can toss on Scoria, Grothgar, Maul the Infernal, Engine Guardian because it can tank a lot of hits for you. Bloodspawn even if you want to, even though they nerfed it. Pirate Skeleton, you can toss on Pirate Skeleton. Yes, you can because we're running a ward. So that Major Defile it inflicts you with really doesn't affect you all too much. It's entirely up to you, matter of preference. But as of right now, I'm running Grothgar because it does apply a lot of sustained pressure and it pulls people out of stealth too. When you're on top of them, they invis in front of you. It's pretty fucking annoying. So that's what this is here for. Last up we're running is Crafty Elfique. All max match. You could probably run Bright Throat if you wanted to, but it's important we have a pretty good max match pool just so we have the thickest horde as possible. On your pieces, ideally for this build, I would have Infuse on the big pieces with the tri-stat enchants just so you get the most out of it, and then on the smaller pieces you could alternate between impenetrable, well-fitted, sturdy. See, I even have a sturdy on my Grothgar piece. It's entirely up to you. This is a 5-1-1 build, 5 light, 1 medium, 1 heavy, just so we get the maximum from our Undaunted passives. As far as jewelry, don't laugh at the blue Lich ring. It just amulet's not that big a deal. I don't feel like farming this again on another account, so running all spell damage. You don't need the sustain. If you think you need the sustain, toss on a cost reduction, toss on a magic recovery. Do what you gotta do. Right here is where you change your build up. If you need to, have new sustain issues, fix it here. Don't fix it anywhere else. Pretty basic setup. So let's go over the skills. On our front bar, running Ellie Drain, pretty much essential. Keep this up on as many people as possible, as often. Fossilize, this is the best CC in the game, in my opinion. Goes through row dodge, block, roots them. It's very good. Flames of Oblivion. Okay, so here's how the playstyle works. I want to explain it after I go over the front bar. We're using Flames of Oblivion as our spammable. This will sound a little crazy, but look at the tooltip, okay? So the tooltip is for, we'll just say 8k, alright? It can hit 2 targets. So let's go over to our Flame Whip. It's 10k on tooltip. So you're losing about 2k, which is about 1k in Cyrodiil. Hits 2 additional targets, and it has double the range as Molten Whip. Now, the reason we're using this as a spammable is for the Molten Whip, so you can proc Seething Fury. So what Seething Fury is, whenever you use a fire ability or a fucking ability from this skill line, you increase the damage of this by 33%. So your spammable is Flames of Oblivion. You don't even have to have any targets. You can just spam it and build up your Seething Fury stacks. And when you go in for your burst, you're going to have it ready. I'll go over kind of how you want to play this, because all this is a little bit different than typical Mag DK playstyle. It takes a couple hours to get used to, but it's fun as fuck. Next, running Flame Reach, not the other one, because you don't want to accidentally CC someone. The dot on this is really good. It's a decent dot. It's not incredible, but the main reason we're using Flame Reach is to proc our perfected Inferno Staff. So let me explain this. Whenever you use Destructive Touch or Destructive Reach or whatever, you get 600 spell damage. Having this 28 meter range really helps. Say they're barely outranging your abilities. If you use the other one, it's like half the range, so you have to be up on their dick in order to proc this. But if you use the other one, not only does it give you a dot that it's pretty decent, applies a lot of pressure, but you can also hit them a lot further away and have your shit proc beforehand. So that's why this is here. Next, running Leap. Now, you're going to see a lot of Mag DK builds, they're going to shit on Leap and act like it's a dog shit skill. It's not. It's super cheap. It gives you an overshield, and it can chase down those fleeing targets like Nightblades, you stealth up away. How other many DK builds do you watch that they actually have chase potential? Little to none. Okay? So not blades are super annoying. This fixes that bullshit. Especially when you have Groth Arc proc. If Rock Arc proc, you leap bomb them, they're not gonna be able to stealth away. So this is mainly to finish those kills that just barely slip away, and it's so fucking frustrating when that happens. So this is mainly to use as an execute. So here's how you line up the shit, fellas. You know what? Let me go over the back bar first, because the back bar is also going to play into our burst. So on our back bar, with everything completely unbuffed, mind you, you know what? Let's just go ahead and buff all this shit up. I'll show you how much healing this thing really does. So that's a 22k. On a front bar, it's going to be even higher, probably around 22, 23k. Hot. Okay, we'll just say 23k healing over time over 5 seconds. That's fucking absurd. Even with the 20% nerf, it's incredibly high. Uh, Keep this much up as much as your dampen magic, your wards. Just treat it as if it is a ward, a really super efficient ward over time, if you will. And it doesn't cost hardly anything. It only costs 2,400 Magicka. You could toss on cost reduction glyphs and get that even lower. The reason we're running a retro staff and not like a frost staff is because coagulate blood is a dog shit heal. It's your only really self heal, and it's terrible, especially when you have major minor defile on you. It doesn't heal for anything. With wards, you don't have to worry about that. It doesn't matter if you have major minor defile on you. The ward's going to be the ward. It's very consistent. So go over all the passives. You just get extra healing, especially when you're low. It's just overall, it helps with your sustain, the absorb passive. Since all the nerfs to healing, the restoration staff, it just seems to be where to go. It's just the most consistent for me. Rapid regen is probably one of my favorite abilities in the game. Next, we're running dampen magic, 11k ward. This will go up a little bit in Cyrodiil, whatever. It's pretty much half of your health in Cyrodiil. Which is pretty fucking dope. It is a little costly, but it's the same cost as Coag, and it's just better. It's more consistent. I can't tell you how many times I cast Coag, I'm getting 4 crit heals. That's fucking terrible. It's just, you can't survive like that. I hate RNG like that. Ward is super consistent, and it's not mitigated by other means like status effects, like disease enchantments or whatever. So that's why this is here. Dragonfire scale, guys. If you don't use this, please stop watching these Metaslave builds. This is probably the second, if not the best skill on the DK, besides Fossilize. Not only does this mitigate damage from all projectiles by 50%, but do you see right there on the tooltip that 7209? Okay, let's actually get a feel for what that is. Okay, so what does that 7209 mean? So on tooltip right now, it's 8k. So every time you're getting hit with a projectile, okay, you're firing off a fucking orb. It does 8k damage. Look at your Flames of Oblivion. Look at that for a second. It does more than your Flames of Oblivion proc. Okay, and people virtually one-shot themselves with this. Every half second you can do this, okay? So at 60, so if they hit you with 2 projectiles, let's say if a sword comes at you, they hit you with a force pulse slide attack, okay? At 16k worth of damage, they're just going to immediately reflect back at them. That's a problem a DK has a lot, is you get outranged, and this just helps you apply pressure without doing anything. You're taking 50% less damage, and you're putting out massive amounts of damage, especially in duels. This is probably your number 1 damage ability in duels, to be honest, against any mag class, any projectile. Doesn't matter. Light attack, it doesn't fucking matter. This is one of the most underrated skills in the game currently, and it honestly needs nerfed. I would go as far as to say this is a fucking broken skill. It's just people don't utilize it because we're so worried about meta slave shit. Like, trust me, guys, run this. You're going to see a noticeable difference. Softens opponents up. You know, they come at you full health, they attack you for a couple seconds, now all of a sudden they're down to half health. Well, guess what? Leap them. Leap them, whip them. Okay? Done. Volatile armor, again, this is one of those defensive slash offensive skills. I don't know if you guys notice a trend, but this build is the best offense is a good defense. Pretty much all of our questionable skills are offensive and defensive in nature. This gives us our major resolve, whatever fucking shit buff, gives us our buff. Plus, it does damage when people attack you, just like Wayne's. And the AoE is fucking huge on it for pulling people out of stealth. Like, look, that's really far. Look how far that is. You can pull any Night Blades out of stealth with this. So, that's mainly what I use it for, is just to pull people like that out of stealth. Now, this is our flex spot on the back bar. Excuse me, I gotta rearrange a little bit. So, I'm using Molten Ornaments. The reason I'm using this is because currently I'm running tripods and the new heroism pots. Let me show you what this is. I've played around a little bit with it. These are very expensive to make. So if you have the money, by all means. If you're going to make these, I think it's a dragon. It's dragon blood, Columbine, and some other dragon shit. It's one of the new items. You'll know what I'm talking about. Um, gives you pretty much everything you need. It doesn't give you the crib, but you don't have to worry about that because we Flames of Oblivion on our front bar. But what's important to note is minor heroism. This on a DK is probably one of the most broken potions you can run, but it is very expensive. So if you can afford it, run this. If not, tripods are fine. And even if you don't want to run that, well, fuck, just run the Alliance potions. That's pretty much what I use anyway. You can just go buy them in Cyrodiil, and for 720 AP, and they crit, major intellect, and then your major sorcery buff if you wanted to. But back to the build. So running Molten Ornaments. Not only does this give us our major sorcery buff, because I don't like using Inner Light. I mean, excuse me, Entropy, because it requires someone to be there in order to get your spell power buff, and we're running very high spell power, so you definitely need one. I don't really like having that. When I go into a fight, I like to have everything prepped and ready to go. You know, so you pop your Molten Ornaments. Before you go into a fight, you can have 3 stacks of your Seething Fury. You know, with nothing buffed. You know, it's a 20k whip you're going to initiate the fight with. I like shit like that. Now, in addition to also giving your major sorcery buff, this makes your heavy attacks do 50% more damage. Couple that with your destruction staff skill line. Try and focus. Your heavy attacks do an additional 12% damage. Couple that with your champion points. Your light and heavy attacks do more damage. You can make this hit really fucking hard out of nowhere. So if someone's trying to range you, right? Say if they're over here. So let me put this in perspective. Okay, so we're just gonna buff up. Okay, we're gonna see how hard our whip hits for. This is 3 stacks of Seething Fury. Not everything proc. So a base 15,332 on the dummy. We'll just use that as a reference. Okay, so we're gonna proc this up again because this does give you extra spell damage, and then we're just gonna heavy attack. Well, it crit. So any other time we would not be able to ever get a crit. So we're gonna try one more time. We're gonna heavy attack. Okay, of course it crits again. So we're gonna try one more fucking time. 13,169. So it's doing 2k less than a fully procced Seething Fury whip. Okay? That's hella amount of bursts come out. And you don't have to do anything special. Your line of sighting, you go behind cover, pop all your shit. You can have your Seething Fury stacks. 1, 2, 3, ready to go. Pop out, wound up heavy attack, leap into your whip. That's well over 60, 70k worth of damage. And you're just going to pop people like nothing. And it requires little to no setup to accomplish. And that's what I really like about this build. You can turn and burn the fuck out of people. You know, hence, you know, Cataclysm. You're just going to dick on kids. You gotta play a little bit smarter. You can't be out in the open. You know, you can't be tanking 10, 15 people without LOSing. You know, just play smart, fellas. Alternatively, you could run other stuff. I've played around with Eruption. Eruption is pretty cool. I've used Dark Talons or Choking Talons. Inflicts everyone with a minor maim, reducing their damage by 15%. It's also pretty good, but overall, if you're solo, uh, shit, you can even gank people with this. To be honest, heavy attack into leap. You can pretty much delete any 20k, around 22k health target. They're just gone. You know. So that's kind of the play style of the build. You will be one tapping the fuck out of people very consistently. You're gonna be very surprised, guys, how much better you can 1vx and sustain by having less people to deal with all the time. But I'll go ahead and explain our last ult. This is a 12-second immortality fucking ult, essentially. I've tried other things. The Resto ultimate's kind of meh. Undo, the Sigil Order skill line, well, it's kind of meh. Uh, when you're really shit's about to hit the fan, pop this. You can possibly get a kill during this. It actually does do a little bit of flame damage during its duration. And the way our build's set up, you can burst people just like that, even without the leap, because your Seething Fury stacks, powering up your Molten Whip into a heavy attack. You one shot a lot of people just simply by doing that. So, that being said, fellas, just keep in mind things to take away from this build. I'll go over the CP in just a moment. Is that first of all, Flames of Oblivion is your spammable. It's take a little while to kind of retrain your brain to get that in your head, but it is your spammable. Before you go in for your burst, you just hit them with your destructive reach. This gives you 600, 650 more spell damage because everything stacks, and that's pretty much it. I mean, you saw the 22k tooltip whip. You pair that with the whip. I mean, just for shits and giggles, we'll see how high we can get the tooltip on that. So we're going boom, boom, skills. It's a 23k. So essentially, you're hitting people with two leaps, and it's not hard to set up, fellas. It's really not. Um, so there's a Cataclysm build. Hope you guys enjoy. I'm gonna have plenty of gameplay for this. I have quite a few clips I think you guys are really gonna enjoy. I'm gonna take a little bit more time and really work on the editing portion instead of just hey, here's some clips, here's some music. I'm actually gonna try a little bit this time. We'll go over the CP real quick, but like I said, I'm not max CP on this account, so things are gonna fluctuate a little bit. So as far as the CP is concerned, 23 spinner, 56 warlord. Put a lot of points in the sprinter because how else you gonna get around the map? You don't really have anything else unless you're using chains. Arcanist, don't put any points in the Mooncalf, not worry about stamina recovery. Using Arcanist because of our Lich proc. This stacks very well with that. 52 in tumbling, I do roll dodge quite a lot, and I also block quite a lot. I find myself roll dodging more often because I'm used to a sword playstyle. Next, 40 Upborn, this helps with our crit heals and our damage. This is a single target build, so you want as many points in Daily Expert, Spell Erosion, and Master Arms you can afford. Put the rest of your points into Staff Expert. The higher this is, the more damage the heavy attacks are going to do. If you get this shit up to like 20%, the heavy attacks are going to do just as much damage as a fully proc Molten Whip. Keep that in mind. Not really using dots, fuck Thaumaturge. You could put points just to get your Exploiter passive, but it's just not worth it to me. 37, 10, 38, put more points into Ironclad when you can. You get over to this tree, everything is pretty good. Put more points into Thick Skin, Elite Defender, Hardy, leave everything else alone. Bastion, get this up to 20%. And that does it for the build, fellas. Let me know what I need to improve on. I will leave a link in the bottom to my other Magsword DK, or excuse me, Magsword builds. If you guys are interested in that. I was gonna make a whole separate rant about Elfbane, but I think you guys kind of get the point. Let me know what I need to improve on. Leave them down in the comments. I'll try to respond to every comment. as I do, good or bad. If you think it's shit, tell me why. If you think it's good, tell me why. But I really suggest that you guys don't knock it until you try it. It is a different playstyle, take a little bit of getting used to, but overall, it's a much more fun experience than just standing, marinating people, and getting fucked on by proc sets. So this is just my spin on the Mag DK build. I always try to be different. Different, maybe better, maybe worse, but in this particular case, it's better. That's just my humble opinion. I'm not saying it just because I made the build. I'm saying it because mathematically, logically, it's just better. So with that being said, hopefully you guys have a good night and deuces.